Welcome back. My name's Daniel Brewer.
And I'm Adam Burns.
And today we're going to talk about episode 3 of Star Trek: Lower Decks, an episode titled The Temporal Edict. Oh, got it wrong right off the bat. That's not good. How are you, Adam?
Well, I was telling you earlier I'm crabby today, but I'm doing great. Thank you for asking.
Excellent. Well, I think, as we'll soon find out, our intrepid Starfleet crew is also a bit on the cranky side. So let's just dive right into episode 3.
I should have worked in some time. What was it? Now I can't think of what they called it. I know you hate me skipping ahead. I'll let you go. Please proceed.
The Cerritos is heading to Cardassia Prime for peace negotiations. However, a message from Starfleet Command reassigns them to deliver diplomatic trinkets on Gelrak 5. At this, Captain Freeman is incredibly angry, believing that Starfleet sees the Cerritos as an unimportant ship. Below decks, we watch as the Fab Four work on a force field in the brig and celebrate finishing early by having a round of margaritas, which newbie Ensign Tindy learns is a lower deck tradition called buffer time. As the captain roams the deck, scolding random crew members for not working hard enough, she ends up in the turbo lift with Ensign Boimler. Adam, what did you think of the opening of the show here? I didn't really talk about there was a little bit before the opening credits and then all the way up to Boimler running into the captain on the turbo lift. What did you think?
Well, I did want to just quickly, I know that wasn't in the overview that you just gave of the beginning part, but I did want to just point out that we have a nice data scene of Boimler playing the violin.
Yes.
And anyway, I thought that was really funny. I'm really liking the callbacks to like Next Generation and all that. So, and then of course Mariner comes out and she has to be playing like an electric guitar. And so anyway, so I enjoyed that. There's not much discussion to be had on that, but I enjoyed that. So on the other bit, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this is what developers do all the time at work, because it's like,
it's true.
Okay, it's going to take me 2 hours to do this. So I'm just going to tell management it'll take the entire sprint. So the entire 2 weeks. Anyway, so I thought it was totally true. And I don't remember. I just watched this before we started recording. And I don't remember if this was there. So you can edit this out if it wasn't. But did they have a shot during this first section where they're on their bunks and that naked guy walks past? We have the return of the naked guy.
We do have the return of the naked guy. That's in the next section, but I'll make sure to include that screenshot just for you. It was a lot like work, and both Adam and I work in the tech industry. So yeah, it is very much, similar to that. In fact, I think those themes continue to run. They run throughout the rest of the show, where you can, it's very much similar to, some manager just getting obsessed about having specific things done at specific times and whatnot. So as we will soon find out. So let's trudge forward. Captain Freeman issues a ship-wide edict that all assignments must be completed within strict time restraints. Buffer time will no longer be tolerated. Mariner wonders who might have snitched and decide that it was most likely Delta Shift. After a week of working with unforgiving deadlines, the crew is showing signs of cracking under the pressure. The hallways are filled with panicked crew members trying to stay on schedule. However, Boimler is absolutely loving the new system, eagerly signing up for additional work as he finishes early. In the midst of the chaos, Commander Ransom assembles his away team to head down to the surface of Gelrak 5. So continuing on with that theme, Adam, here we have our manager, Captain Freeman, actually issuing this edict that no more buffer time. You must do things in the time that we say that you're supposed to do them, and immediately turn around and do something else.
See, this is a lower decks recap, but I'm like having PTSD or something from like management, because there's so many. This episode is like so reminiscent of work. It's like managers who think they know that something should be done, or and they have no clue. And then basically what happens is the underlings, the lower decks folks, just do it the way they think it should be done or whatever, and then deliver that thing to management. So I had a feeling that something bad was going to come of this edict. And it also reminded me of, so when I was an underwriter for insurance, everything was timed. And so everything that we did, they were timing us. And so that's exactly what they're doing here. They get like management who has no idea how long something takes is like, okay, you should have 30 minutes to do this thing. And then they literally have a pad with like a timer like running on it. So I knew nothing good was going to come of that for sure.
Remember when pads in Star Trek were like a really cool thing, and now we all have tablets all the time, and it's just like we don't even think about them anymore.
Yeah, well, even the all the monitors and everything, everyone loved and you're even using that in our screen, the YouTube thingy, the thingamabob.
Yeah, the YouTube thingamabob, right? Exactly.
I have no words tonight, but the LCARs. Mm-hmm. We thought that was so cool, and it still is cool, but I mean, now it's so, I mean, we all have screens in front of us like all day long, every day. And like, if you drive that electric car, Tesla, you have like one of those like in front of you in your Tesla. So it's common now.
I don't even think you have to have a Tesla. I mean, all of our cars that we have screens in them too. So.
True.
All right, moving onward. The Gelrakians base their entire social structure around crystals, and the away team must display the honor crystal given to the first contact team to show that they come in peace. As they approach the Gelrakian delegation, Ransom instructs an ensign to display the honor crystal. Unfortunately, someone grabbed the wrong box in the Cerritos chaos, and the team instead displayed a wooden fertility totem. The Gelrakians take this as an affront and start to attack the away team. A plan by Ransom to broker peace goes awry as the entire away team is captured and taken to jail. Meanwhile, back on the Cerritos, the captain is trying to get answers from her overworked bridge crew when a contingent of Gelrakian cruisers approach and begin boarding the ship. Captain Freeman announces that all crew members should repel the boarding parties, but not if it interferes with finishing their assigned work. So, Adam, the Gelrakians have boarded the ship, and people are supposed to be fending them off while not interfering with doing their work.
I'm confused because what the hell were they or were they like writing like putting chalk art on the wall? Like, what were they doing exactly?
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I don't know.
they were writing graffiti all over the ship in their language, which I think in a later scene Boimler decodes it and actually says what it is. But yeah, they're basically writing graffiti. Back down on the planet, though, when we first got the away team down to the planet and the fighting all started out, I thought it was kind of interesting that almost everyone on the away team was in a red shirt, and the person that got stabbed was in a gold shirt. So it was just kind of like a little thumbs up to the, or a little,
he was the
what? Yeah, a nod to the red shirt guy not dying, right? It's just like, I also thought it was hilarious. I was the one laugh out loud moment was when the guy that got stabbed was just like going, "I'm going to die," and Mariner was like, "We live on a spaceship. You're not going to die from a stab wound." It's just like,
yeah, and so there was and I want to say it was on Next Generation, but I may be wrong. But there was a hairstylist. Was it Next
yeah.
Or was it
Mr. Mott.
Voyager?
Yeah. No, it's on Enterprise. It was Mr. Mott, who
the blue guy,
the hairstyle. Yeah.
Who like he was a hairstylist. I want to say. Anyway, he reminded me of him. I'm like, they gave the hairstylist. He's co-piloting a ship now. Look at that. But yeah. Yeah, that was all very interesting. Like, I'm still coming to terms with this second contact stuff because you don't see that on any of the shows. So they whip out, like you said, they whip out this box, and they were supposed to be displaying some crystal, and it was wood. Yeah, and apparently wood is like a really bad thing to these crystal people. So that makes them go into a rage, start stabbing, throwing spears, and apparently putting chalk graffiti all over the ship.
Attacking the ship, exactly, yes. Well, we learned, I mean, that was the very first thing that we learned, right, is that their entire social structure is around crystals and whatnot. Right. So, it's a weird Star Trek planet. Who knows? Okay.
Maybe that's the birthplace of the crystalline entity.
Oh, it could have been. The next part of the show actually is kind of a little bit intertwined. We had things going on the planet, and then we keep cutting back to things going on the ship. So I'm going to break those two apart, and let's just talk about the planet part first. Ransom is writing a speech to convince the Gelrakians to release them when they are greeted by the Gelrakian leader. He informs them that one of them must fight to the death against a Gelrakian named Vindor in order to be released. Otherwise, the remaining away team members will be crushed by the adjudication geode. Mariner and Ransom fight over who should be allowed to battle Vindor. When it looks like Mariner has won the argument, Ransom stabs her in the foot with the battle blade to ensure that he will be the one to fight. Ransom enters the arena, rips off his shirt, throws down the battle blade, and uses a double fist punch to defeat Vindor. The Gelrakian leader orders that the away team be released from prison and allowed to leave. All right, so Adam, what did you think of this big fight scene between Ransom and Vindor, the Gelrakian?
He's hot. That's what I think.
Now, do you believe, the character Jack Ransom is hot, or the person that voices him, which is Jerry O'Connell? Is it Jerry O'Connell that voices him from Sliders? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't find him to be incredibly hot. He's not a bad looking guy, but no, the actual cartoon character, he pulls off his shirt and he's got all these muscles and abs and everything. I was like, all right.
It is a definite nod back to the original series where, Kirk would always manage to get his shirt ripped in some way or to show a nipple in some way. And also that really stupid double fist punch thing that Kirk always did, that he was just going. And I think some of Ransom's lines during that were just like double fist punch. And it's just like,
it was. Kirk did not look like that, first of all. I never found Kirk to be all that attractive, to be honest. Everyone always thought Kirk was so handsome, and I was like, I don't really know. I didn't get it, and I still don't really get it. But Ransom is definitely hotter in the sense that we think of hot today. I guess I don't know, or maybe I'm just crazy, and Kirk really was hot. But yeah, a definite nod to Kirk and him always getting his shirt ripped or something like that. I was surprised actually though, because the whole conversation between Mariner and Ransom, it seems like he's not going to do a good job. She's like, I'm the better person for this. Look at all these scars that I've got all over the place. I've been in all these fights. And he's like, you know what? You're right. But I'm an officer and I'm supposed to be, and you think, and I think, oh God, he's going to suck. But he really was able to beat down that, whatever it was called.
He's a Gelrakian, but it's like, it's one of those, I think this is just, the whole premise of the show, right? Is that he's a bridge officer, right? He's supposed to be the best of the best. And of course he's going to be able to defeat this guy. But Mariner is always looking at things, and we, the audience, by looking through her eyes, are always looking at things from the lower decks level, right? It's like, oh, they're just a bunch of buffoons up on the top deck. It's kind of like, to take it back to that workplace analogy, it's at that point that, your boss is on some conference call and actually says something that surprises you that he knew, right? It's just like he asks a question, like a really technical question, and you're like, oh, maybe you're not a complete idiot, that kind of a thing. Yeah. It's just like, so I think, it's just a little bit of that mixed in too, where, Ransom is not a main character in this show, although he is a bridge crew member and a main character if, the USS Cerritos was a regular Star Trek episode. So
I also thought it was funny that he was writing his speech, because you never, so, Captain Picard, for instance, is always, like giving these, heated speeches or whatever that, or even if they're not heated, but that always convince people. The
impassioned speeches that gets them out of things. It's not just Picard, right? You also have Sisko that did it. You had Janeway that did it. It's a very, even Archer, I think, did it back on Enterprise. So it is definitely a Star Trek trope.
And you never had shots of them like working with their speech writer,
there was a couple on Next Generation where Picard would be practicing his speech in front of Troy, and she would be correcting him on the right tone or something like that. But yes, it is amusing, right? It's like, what are you doing? I'm writing the speech that will get us out of here. It's like, I'm
not only that, but he was scribbling it on the wall.
Okay, so back on the ship, let's go back and find out what was happening on the ship while this was happening on the planet. As the Gelrakians gain the upper hand, Boimler heads to the bridge to talk to the captain. When he learns that she is trying to run the bridge by herself, he convinces her that she is a great captain, but she needs to let the crew be a great crew on their own terms. The captain instructs the crew to cut whatever corner and break whatever rule that they need in order to retake the ship. The newly energized crew quickly retakes the ship, and the Gelrakians retreat. We later find Mariner in sickbay having her foot treated, telling Ransom that she will not report him for stabbing her. He thanks her, and then has her arrested for failing to roll down the sleeves of her uniform. The captain informs Boimler that there will be a new shipwide mandate called the Boimler Effect that encourages buffer time and cutting corners. So, Adam, this is kind of the last part here. What did you think of Back on the Ship and the ending to the show, actually?
I know this is tongue in cheek. Like, I know this whole show is kind of, a comedy, kind of making fun of, some of the Star Trek tropes and stuff like that we see. But I felt the one thing that stuck out to me on this was, she said, first of all, I thought the rule was more that the captain put into place was, don't put in this buffer time, like in what you're doing. But it didn't really, like, at the end when she's saying, okay, bend all the rules, do whatever you want. Like, I thought that was kind of not completely related to the rule that she put in place. I mean, I thought it was a little bit of a stretch there. She's like, okay, do whatever you want, Yes. But really the only thing that she put in place was, you can't put in any of this buffer time. That was it. And it's not like buffer time was going to save the day in this particular situation.
Well, I mean, it's an allegory, right? It's like you have the results-based thing where it's just kind of like, okay, I hired you to do this job, and I'm going to let you do your job. I'm going to give you, if you tell me it's going to take this, then I'm going to give you the time to do that and to get it done, however you see fit to do it, as opposed to the micromanagement style, which is I'm going to be right on top of you every single second, making sure that what you do, fits within these parameters, that kind of a thing. So that kind of a thing. But more importantly, it was, we're naming this new effect after Boimler, who absolutely was the one crew member that loved that new system, right? He absolutely loved being in it. I also thought there was a really great line when the Gelrakians had him cornered in the hallway and they're like, we have you surrounded. And he's like, I have a phaser.
Right.
And basically,
you have a crystal sphere or spear and I have a phaser.
Right. But yeah. And then there was like a little epilogue kind of a thing at the end in the far, far future when the future people were recognizing the Boimler effect, and it was named after the laziest, most corner-cutting officer in Starfleet, Brad Boimler. But let's talk about the most important person in Starfleet, which is Chief Miles O'Brien. So
yeah,
so a nice little thing. I don't, overall, I think it was an okay episode. I think it's still kind of, feeling its way around. Some of the things I do like about the show is that it doesn't have to spend a whole lot of time building a universe, because we kind of understand the Star Trek universe, right? We understand the things that are happening around there. So they don't have to spend time with that. But I do think that they're still spending a lot of time, getting us used to these characters, kind of getting them in different kind of situations. Now maybe we have kind of a weird, lusty kind of a thing going on between Ransom and Mariner, with them both kind of like being hot after each other. And so, maybe that will go somewhere, maybe it won't. I don't know. It's still very early in the season. I would like to point out, because I know there's been a lot of talk about this show not being good from some people. I still like it. I think you just have to remember that the first season of every Star Trek has not really been the greatest. It's like it takes a while for these characters to really kind of gel together and for you to really kind of get behind them.
Yeah, I mean, I saw an article, and actually I didn't know if you wanted to talk about, and I don't have the article in front of me, so I can't really refer to it, but I saw an article where they were talking about, Lower Decks sucks, basically, is what the article was. And I was thinking, and I've said this in a previous recap that we did, and one of the first two that we did, one thing that I'm thinking of is you have to like this kind of animation. So, or I want to say comedy, but I mean the comedic, the way they're doing things is very reminiscent of those, the comedy animation that we've talked about already that I can't remember the name
if you don't like adult animation, you're not going to like this show.
Right.
Yeah. And
And then the other thing is if you're a kind of a hardcore Star Trek, fan, there are a lot of those that are like, no, it's not, it's not my problem of the week. Sort of, it is, but I mean, it's making fun of that more than, being a real, thing. So they're going to have that problem with it. And then people who've never watched much Star Trek wouldn't get as much enjoyment out of it because they don't know all the inside jokes.
Yeah.
So I think there are lots of reasons to not like it, but
I think at the same time, by it being on CBS All Access, it doesn't really matter. It's in that Netflix world of it doesn't really matter what the ratings are because they don't make money by the number of people that watch it, right? They make money by the number of people that subscribe to it. So as long as they're not hemorrhaging subscribers over it and they can show some kind of subscriber gain by having it there, then I think it's definitely something that they'll keep around. So
good Lord, sir, I'm unsubscribing from your channel because of Lower Decks. I think it's enjoyable. I think it's a cute little, light little thing that makes fun of, different Star Trek tropes, and I'm enjoying it so far. So
excellent. Well, if you'd like to listen to Adam and I do our normal podcast, you can find us over at mix-podcast.com. And of course, we'll be back next week to talk about episode 4 of Star Trek: Lower Decks.